Folks, we have made it to the milestone. This is the Ponderosa in the digital realm. Definitely not perfect, but this is the closest we could get. At least by the standards of 2026. Maybe someday in the future, somebody else might make a model that's much more in depth, if they're interested, that is. But, this is the best we have now. And no, I wasn't joking. This really was first conceived over 3 years ago, making this the most time-consumed project I have ever created on Kale-Idle-Scope, without a doubt. It was originally going to be done by hand, but after numerous delays, we were able to rely on the magical power that is artificial intelligence to craft these models. I'm going to give special credit to my stepmom Jennifer, who was a huge, really big help behind the scenes of this project. Without her inclusion, this probably would not have been possible. So thank you, Jen, for your support and for working alongside me during this really tricky obstacle. Yes, there were several moments of doubt, anxiety, and worry, but, well, it didn't stop our efforts. Especially considering that my old collaborator, Drake, he kind of left without a word. My only concern on that was that maybe I was asking too often for updates on the map, and maybe he got overwhelmed or something. I never meant for it to be taken personal, it's just business, but I don't really know. Jin said that maybe he's having medical issues and he can't respond anymore, but regardless on what the reason is as to why he's not talking to me anymore, this thing had to be completed no later than this year. We can't keep putting it back. Also worth noting is that if this video passes the 10-minute and 10-second mark, which I'm pretty sure it will, then it'll be surpassing over 2 days worth of Kale-Idle-Scope content across all the 250 total videos. Yeah, I remember in October of 2022, it was a day and 5 hours, so it took forever to get to this point. Maybe sleeping on this masterpiece really was for the better. There also won't be any hard language in this video specifically because I want it to appeal to more people, but I think it's finally time to go through every landmark one by one and tell you their stories and what they mean on this 2.5 acre land we call home. Alright, so our first stop is the main house of the Ponderosa. It is an incredibly tiny home, so small in fact, that when my younger sister was riding to drop me off, she wondered if the whole house was just my bedroom. Interestingly, the only room that doesn't touch the outside, that being the bathroom, has a window in it that leads to the laundry room, or porch, or whatever you want to call it. Don't worry, the glass is thick and tinted so you can't see through it, but it just serves as a time capsule of when the house used to be even smaller because the kitchen and porch were added to the home later on. Although, if you look at the walls of both rooms side by side, it almost looks like the porch was the room they added on and the kitchen was already there, but my mom told me it was both, so I'll take her word. Next we have the RV that Papa Harold lives in. Unfortunately, there was a bit of an error on the placement of this RV. Yes, it is right next to our main house, but on the map it looks kind of like it's floating in midair. Actually, it doesn't look like it's floating, it is floating. But my point is, by the time we noticed, I was ready to be done with the project and, due date. Anyway, now Papa is the only one of the original owners to still be living out here, because his wife Becky as well as Becky's mother have both passed since 2012. I'm rarely ever in this thing, but still it's a pretty cozy little area to hang in. However, sometime in the summer of 2023, a tree fell on top of the RV during some rough storms and a bunch of Papa's plates fell to the ground. It took about 5 months for the repair people to fix it, and during that period Papa was living with Aunt Terry. My mom said they were being, and I quote, idiots for taking so long. No, they're not idiots just for needing extra time to do their job. Possibly there were other things wrong with the RV that they needed to touch up on, but let's not randomly throw that word around without a valid reason. Next, we have the trailer. It used to belong to an uncle named Travis, but the year after this project began, his brother Todd moved in with his family. I've been inside most rooms in this thing, except maybe that one that's in the middle of the house, as well as a few small closets, but I've only looked in that room from the hallway, I do believe. What's weird about this model, though, is that on the back it's kind of ripped. You see, I think the only picture I was able to get of the backside had a little tree in the way, so maybe it confused the system or something, but like, this is a computer-generated model, not a paper mache. Why does it have to be ripped? Like, you couldn't have filled that in? But yeah, other than that, there's not much to say on this matter. It was added to the Ponderosa quite a bit later than when the family first moved out there. The final model for this category of landmarks is the garage. Now, we've never actually parked any cars in this thing, so really it's more like a large storage shed, and I think my mom's partner goes out there to smoke frequently. Uncle Trav did live here once before the trailer was placed. They had installed a bunch of bunk beds for the 3 or 4 kids that they had with them at the time. I don't remember the exact number, I believe it was 3, but yeah, not big enough for a larger family like that. Thankfully, they don't have to live all squeezed together in that tiny garage anymore. This was also the first model that Jen and I created for this project, so there's that. Okay, next we have a few smaller buildings that aren't really habitable, but they are important to this map. Unfortunately, during a different stormy time, you know, the one that wasn't the one that caused the tree to fall on the RV, no, this time one of the sheds had blown over. And that shed housed the box that stars the chicken that Cousin Tyler had painted. In some ways, this chicken is kind of the mascot for our land. I was a bit bummed when I realized we couldn't actually be able to map him at all on this thing. Chicken box would have been really cool, but oh well, at least he's in the thumbnail, so that's good enough. Anyway, on to the structures we did manage to model. Firstly, the coop. This was where the chickens would hang out. Now, I don't really see many chickens, or any at all, in fact, around our area anymore. I mean, I don't know if we still have them. But we do have goats and a pig still. Also, this coop was the same one I used in the video I named Kale in the Evil Attic behind the scenes footage. That was 5 years ago, and oh man, the quality. Still a good video though. Yeah, the Ponderosa does change quite quickly. Things are often coming and going, and the vibes change a lot after family members and friends never come back here again. But anywho, now a bit of a story with this one, but I do recall a couple of years ago a young step-cousin, or cousin's step-sister, basically a newer member to the family, had gotten stuck in the coop somehow. She seemed to be scared of the chickens and screaming and all that. I tried to get her out just by ramming the door down if I could, but to put it simply, I don't remember how she got out of the coop, but all that I really did was break the screening off the door, and then they had to just board it up. So yeah, thanks a lot, Kale. Anyway, that's about it for the coop. The rest aren't all that noteworthy. We have a shed, a pump shed, and a storm shelter. Not once have I actually ever been down in the storm shelter, believe it or not, and I wouldn't recommend going down there today. Who knows what could be in there. If there are ever bad storms, because, you know, Oklahoma weather, we normally just stay inside our houses. Except for Papa, who comes inside our house. We don't want him in that RV during that, but, you know. The pump shed is basically a little building with a water generator or something like that. You can't even go inside unless you crawled, maybe. It's very tiny. The young kids normally just like to climb on top of it and hang out. And then there's the regular shed. It's a shed. Alright, so at last we have the little extra things that aren't extremely important, but still serve their purpose in decorating the map, and without them it would be pretty empty. We had a couch at one point in the yard, yes, a large sofa just sitting in the grass, but it's gotten old and we moved it by the coop. I wonder how it got old. And also, when I did that update video last May on the progress of the map up until that point, I included a picture of the nasty, dirty couch in the background, and my mom could not stop laughing. She said it was the worst pic I could have taken of the whole property, but I mean, I was more concerned and interested in getting a shot of the chicken than caring about the couch at all, and that was really the only way I could do that. Let's see, there's also a fire pit, picnic table, tractor that we no longer have because it belonged to a neighbor. We have a wooden trailer, the type of trailer you put on the back of your vehicle. It's a bit narrower than I would have liked, but you know, time constraints. We also have a wagon that never gets used for anything, a trampoline frame, again, never gets used, a dirt mound, and a tree. We will talk about all of these here, but the thing is, the tree isn't exactly a landmark. There were originally going to be multiple trees scattered around this map, but then I realized I didn't want any important landmarks to be hidden away behind one of them, so we're just stuck with the largest tree we have, which is by far the tallest thing on all of the Ponderosa. Yeah, I know that there was the whole first-person view that I showed you earlier, but I didn't want to take any risks, and I didn't even know that was going to be possible, so I just didn't consider it. The dirt mound is labeled as snake area on the flat map, but if I'm being honest, the snakes may have just migrated behind Todd's trailer because it was like a jungle back there before they cleared it out. I don't know where they are now, but I honestly don't care as long as they're nowhere close. Anyway, it's actually supposed to just be a round lump, and for whatever reason, it made it into a square. Trampoline frame is pretty basic, but I never recall anybody ever having actually jumped on a net that was tied to this thing, which I kind of wish it did have that because, you know, it's really hard to see this frame from really far away in the actual 3D model. And finally, the wagon. This is probably the most south landmark on the property. Actually, the trampoline frame might extend a bit further south, but it's not the end of the property entirely. It doesn't end at the wagon. Anything past it is just trees and grass, no actual landmarks, so I decided it wouldn't be important to include. Interestingly, there is, or was at least, some trailers behind the far back side of the Ponderosa, and apparently, according to my Uncle Todd, they were filled to the ceiling with a bunch of nasty, dirty Walt Disney plushes and other merch, and honestly, is that something I would ever have guessed in 100 years of living here? Probably not. Not if he had never told me, at least. So in conclusion, yeah, this project was fun to work on with Jennifer, and we don't know exactly what the next major thing on this channel will be. I mean, obviously there will continue to be vlogs, but when it comes to like actual huge projects like this, I don't know, it may be a new model, or it may be an upgrade in the editing, like Adobe Premiere Pro or something. I still struggle with that to this day, so who knows what we're going to do in the future, but as for now, I do appreciate you guys watching and making this land one for the ages as it continues to evolve, as well as myself. So, yeah, wonderful day to all of you.